Start with our first principle. So before understanding integration, let's go back and revise what we know about derivatives. So we say that if I have 2 points on a nonlinear function very close to each other, that's why h tends to 0, then I can assume the slope of the nonlinear graph to be calculated using the same formula as the straight line, y2 minus y1 upon x2 minus x1. So the slope of the curve is same as the slope of the tangent, is same as the slope of the secant, because the points are so close to each other, the tangent and secant are almost the same, and we get this expression for slope of the curve. And this was used to find the gradient or the rate of change of the function which is non-linear in nature using the first principle. Assuming the same, that h tends to 0, that means the 2 points are very close to each other, we are going to rewrite this expression as f dash x times x h plus f of x is equal to f of x plus h. I'll remind you something that we used to write in straight line equation. y2 is equal to y1 plus m times x2 minus x1. So all I'm saying is if I know x1, y1 and if I know the slope, then I can find out what y2 is. Same thing in nonlinear functions. I'm saying if I know the derivative of a function at a given point, obviously, and if I know a point, then I can go to the neighborhood point, a point which is very close to x. So I'm finding a new point using my knowledge of an existing point and the slope at that point. Okay, so how does that help us? Well, I'm exactly doing the opposite operation of derivatives. In derivatives, I first subtract and I then divide. Now I'm doing first multiplication and then addition. That means I'm doing the opposite operations of what I did to find the derivative. So what I'm also doing is something called antiderivative. I'm doing the opposite of derivative. So what does this really lead to? Let's find out. So say for example, I am thinking of any nonlinear function where I say this is the derivative function, okay? Then I know the f dash x at a given x, I know the slope of the value. And I am saying I am going to do f dash x into h. That means I am assuming that this f dash x will remain the same for a small distance h, and therefore f dash x into h is nothing but the area of a rectangle whose dimensions are f dash x can be the length and h can be the width, or vice versa. Okay, what is the assumption here? That in that interval of h, f dash x remains the same. If you look at the graph, you may say, well, no, it doesn't remain the same. It's actually longer and you have taken the same. Correct. So it's an approximation because h is so small that assumption seems fair. To that, to this area under the rectangle, I'm adding f of x. You may say that how can you add an area to a length? Well, I'm not. Well, I can think of this also as an area. So this is an area of a rectangle whose width is h and length is, and this is the area of another rectangle whose width is 1 and length is f of x. Well, f of x is however not in this graph because this is the graph of f dash x. So the first rectangle I have is this one. To that I keep adding. At the moment I add, I go to the next neighborhood point. I go to this f of x plus h. Again I start from there and I add the derivative at that point, and again I go to a new point, f of x plus 2h, and so on. So using this accumulating areas. So I am accumulating areas. I'm also doing the opposite of derivative. I'm trying to move in small neighborhoods and reconstruct my original function. And that process of antiderivative or accumulating areas is called integration. So let us do an example to make this even more clearer on what this process is. I understand what derivative meant, but I'm still not able to wrap my head around this derivative. So let's say derivative of a point, or sorry, derivative of a function. Derivative can't be taken at a point. Derivative of a function is x square. Okay, and I know that the original function value at some minus 1000 is some minus or so minus 1000 the whole cube. So it's a very large negative number. Okay, say this was given to us that at minus 1000 the derivative is the function value is a very small number or a very large negative number. And now what does my antiderivative operation does? It says that take that value at minus 1000, and if I know the derivative of the function at minus 1000, then I can move in a small step size. Say let me take h as say 0.1, and I can reach, where can I reach? I can reach to a point minus 1000 plus 0.1. Okay, so let me now imagine what am I going on adding. Because I know the derivative, what am I adding actually is the area of a rectangle where f dash x is the length and h is the width. So I can find the derivative of at minus 1000, the derivative will be minus 1000 square. So I know this is minus 1000 cube plus minus 1000 square into 0.1. So if I calculate this value, this will be minus 10 raised to 6 plus minus 10 raised to 4 into 0.1 is 10 raised to 3. So it's a some large negative number, and I have reached to the neighborhood point, and I can keep continuing this. That means I can keep adding these areas under the to this value to start progressing on the function. So what I am going to get is, I started with a very large negative number and then I am adding positive values to it, but obviously that large negative number is getting added, and if you go back and see, what I am adding is becoming lesser and lesser. So smaller and smaller quantities I am adding. So though this is going to become positive, but this is going to become positive slowly, and then at one point maybe it will reach, at this point whatever is the function value is because there is nothing, no area getting added. At that point derivative is becoming 0, so nothing is getting added. After 0, again I am adding areas, but now I am adding bigger and bigger areas. Oh, so now whatever is changing faster and faster. So something like that the original function should look like. I don't know whether it passes through 0 or not, I am just assuming, but that something like that should happen. Maybe it reaches here, so and then it becomes more and more positive, I don't know, something like that. So this is the process of integration. Now let me ask you this question. So derivative is x square. Whose derivative is x square? Can I ask you? So when x raised to n, if function is x raised to n, when we used to find derivative, we used to do n times x raised to n minus 1. So the power used to get reduced. So if I tell you now that the derivative is x square, whose derivative is x square? Well, x cube will become x square, but it will not become x square, it will become 3x square. So this 3 is additional, so let me divide. So that means if I take derivative of 1 upon 3x cube, will I get x square as the derivative? Yes. Derivative of x cube upon 3 is x square. Oh. So if derivative is x square, the function is x cube by 3. Fine. So let's continue this same logic and look at different orders of polynomials. So if derivative is x, whose derivative is x? Well, derivative of x square is 2x, but it is only x, so divided by 2. Okay. If derivative is x square, we just found out that the function must be x cube by 3. Okay. If derivative is 1, whose derivative is 1? Derivative of x is 1. If derivative is x raised to 3, then whose derivative is x raised to 3? Well, x raised to 4 becomes actually x cube, but there is also 4 times x cube, so I have to divide by 4. And if I continue the pattern, and if I ask you if derivative is x raised to n, then whose derivative is x raised to n? Well, the derivative of x raised to n plus 1 upon n plus 1 is x raised to n. I can also write the same thing in a slightly different way. So I can say that, let me add a new page, and I can say that integral of x dx. So instead of saying the reverse, integral of x dx, I used to say whose derivative is x. So instead of saying that, can I write it as x square by 2? Integral of x square dx is x cube by 3. Integral of x cube dx is x raised to 4 by 4. All I am saying is that it's the opposite operation of derivative, right? Instead of asking you whose derivative is x, I am saying integral of. So I am using the symbol. And why that integral? Well, integral is accumulating. Earlier we have seen this symbol of summation for accumulating or adding everything. But what was the idea of summation was, it was used in sequences when I used to increase in integer quantities. I used to increase one term after the another and do summation. However, in integral, we know that the area is moving in very small increments of h, where h is a real number. So this summation got changed into then integral symbol, because now we are working in the real number domain. So I am not incrementing in integer quantities, I am incrementing by dx. It's very small amounts of. You remember how we did derivative? We used to write derivative d by dx of x square. Now we will write integral of x square, again with respect to which variable? That's what we have to write. So if we understand that, then the basic of integration is understood, that integral means antiderivative and integral will be the opposite of derivative. Fine. But there is a small hitch to this. If you really look at each of these functions, I'll ask you one more thing. If I add a number here, and take derivative of, instead of taking derivative of x square by 2, if I take derivative of x square by 2 plus 4, well, derivative of 4 is 0. So the integral of x can either be written as x square by 2 or x square by 2 plus 4, because When I take derivative, this 4 would vanish. Similarly, if I take derivative of x cube by 3, I'll get x square. Even if I take derivative of x cube plus 3 plus 5, we'll still get x square, because derivative of constants are 0. So when I'm taking integral, I have to remember that it's not just x square by 2 or x cube by 3 or x raised to 4. I can also accommodate a family of functions whose value, whose integral will be this. So the answer to an integral is a family of functions. That means all quadratic equations of the form x square by 2 plus c can be anything, positive, negative, 0 number, the derivative will still be x. Similarly, if I take x cube by 3 plus any other number will also have derivative as x square. So integral should not only accommodate one answer, but it should accommodate a family of such functions. So integral of a linear function is a quadratic, but not one quadratic, but a family of quadratic. Integral of a quadratic is a cubic, but a family of cubic. Integral of cubic is a quartic, family of quartic, and so on. So that's the difference that you have to notice between derivatives and integrals. Derivative of a function is one function, but integral of a function is a family of such functions. So if quadratic is the answer, then it's a family of quadratic. If cubic is the answer, then it's a family of cubic, and so on.